Bitcoin and most of the other cryptos are in a hyperwave. And since almost no one knows what that means, I want to reiterate that all hyperwaves are bubbles, but not all bubbles are hyperwaves. That's very important. Not all parabolic moves are hyperwaves, but all parabolic moves are bubbles. You should be able to see the hyperwave. This, once again, we've shown this in our last 3 vlogs, is the rendering of a basic hyperwave that I drew 40 years ago and have since cataloged several hundred examples of this. It's in 7 phases, 1 through 7, with the first 4 being up, 5 being down, 6 being up, and 7 being down. The first example I'm going to point to today is the largest hyperwave that I have cataloged. And this is from 1942 all the way till today. This is the 30-year U.S. Treasury bond yield. So it's the opposite of the price of U.S. Treasury bonds. As yields go up, the bond prices are dropping. And as yields go down, the bond prices are going up. This is from the middle of World War II all the way until today. It's the largest amplitude relative to its starting point, which was very close to 1.5%, running up to 14.5%. And then this 40-year drop right through today. But going back to the chart, here is what a hyperwave looks like with all 7 of its phases. And here is the 30-year T-bond yield, the hyperwave and the yield. We've been showing you a number of stocks, corporations back from 1924 to 1935, which all exhibit the same movement in terms of hyperwave construction, with a period of flatness followed by increasingly stronger angles of ascent, the drop, the pullback, back towards the top, and then a very long period of decline. With Westinghouse, we're looking at prices going from an area of around 30 up to 300, or a 10x hyperwave. 3 years of downside before going flat again. And very quickly, I'm going to show you how complex some of these can become. This is the gold prices from 1970. 1 year later, in 1971, as we've mentioned before, the gold window was closed by Richard Nixon. What that means is that the Bretton Woods reserve currencies of the U.S. dollar and gold were no longer exchangeable, and gold took this tremendous run from $35 all the way up to almost 900 in the form of the first stage of a very large hyperwave into a very long period of consolidation gave us a new angle and has been moving up ever since until just recently. And then the silver price over the same period in which we had a completed hyperwave that ran from $2 up to almost 40, a 20x rise before dropping back into the 5th, 6th, and 7th wave that brought it all the way back to the beginning.